Hello students. Today's video lecture we will talk about two simple topics under plant taxonomy. This unit included in the first year botany second semester syllabus, that is plant taxonomy. In this unit, first of all we go through the introduction and as well as principles of plant systematics. A small question to the students: which is the oldest branch of biological sciences? Everybody knows very well about the answer. That is, taxonomy is the oldest branch of biological science because in the Stone Age onwards, a uncivilized man categorized plants based on usage. So, without any scientific knowledge, without any educational background, human beings are searching for different type of plants for their usage. So in this way, they are identified the plants and classify based on its usage. That is essential plants, non-essential plants, and as well as poisonous plants. That's why taxonomy is the oldest branch of botany. Why do we classify living things? What is the purpose of classification of living things? Living organisms show a wide range of variations with respect to shape, habitat, life cycle, structure, and usage, and in other parameters also. Specific identification of organism. How to identify a specific organism based on the characteristics only. So then only we can find out so and so plant located in the surroundings, and establish relationships among different organisms and helps to know about their evolution, how the plants are evolved on the earth planet. In the olden days, we are seeing a group of plants only. Now we are seeing different diversified plants, how they are evolved. So we can understand all these things by studying and classify the living things only. To study the phylogeny and evolutionary history of organisms. Why human beings classify the plants? So the plants which are fulfill basic needs of human beings and as well as few animals, that is food, shelter, clothes, and all green plants release oxygen during photosynthesis process. They purify the air and they synthesize its own food materials. They act as primary producers in the ecosystem, economically important to human being, and farmers are cultivate different type of plants for vegetables, fruits, and seeds, and many of the plants used in medical sector, that is Ayurveda, Unani, and allopathy. These are medicinal plants also available in forests and in our surroundings. Fiber, wood plants, herbs, and spices, which are all getting from the plants. So that's why we know the plant, then only we can search for what is the usage from that plant. So that's why human beings are classify the plants. So earlier we said taxonomy is the oldest branch, and moreover it is the basic to other sciences and at the same time dependent on them. Taxonomy itself has no data because it has to depend other branches of the botany only. So taxonomy, which explains about three main aspects about plants and as well as animals. The three aspects are depends on the characteristics. So the characteristics are provided by different branches of the botany. Then only it have independent independent autonomous present for taxonomy. So see this figure. So how the taxonomy interrelated with other branches of the botany. So taxonomy, it collect the information from various branches. So that's why it has no itself own data, but it collect the data from different branches of the botany. So this circular diagram shows how the taxonomy branch interrelated with other branches of the botany. What are the objectives of the taxonomy? The main objectives of plant taxonomy is to provide convenient method of describing, identifying, and classifying the plant taxa. How to describe a plant, how to describe a plant, and what are the methods to identify the plant, and on which criteria you have to classify the plant taxa or plant species. To provide a scheme of classification that attempts to express phonetic and phyletic relationship. The classification depends upon the different criteria. If a taxonomist considers the physical characteristics or outward characteristics, they are called phonetic relationship. Another taxonomist, he collected the data. Based on the data, he explained about the evolutionary relationship between the two groups. Such type of relationship is called phyletic relationships. So in any way, taxonomists are classified in their own criteria, classified in different ways. Preparation of the flora of a region or a nation or a continent. Flora is nothing but a collection of plant belongs to a particular area. So a flora of a region, for example, flora of Telangana is different from flora of Karnataka. So flora of India is different from flora of America. In continent-wise, nation-wise, region-wise, we can prepare the flora of the particular details about the plants to provide an understanding of the evolutionary process and the relationship, to provide an integrating and unifying role in the training of biology students. In the course of evolution, every biology student to know how to integrate that plant taxonomy to other subjects, and what is the role of taxonomy in the life sciences. So everybody knows, they studied in the earlier classes. Basic components of taxonomy is, the first basic component of taxonomy is identification. Second one is nomenclature. Third one is classification. Fourth one is characterization. So these are the four basic components of plant taxonomy: identification, nomenclature, classification, characterization. So identification means it is the basic step and the first step in the taxonomy. A person or a student or a scholar who collect a plant specimen from the particular locality, the determination of the collected plant specimen is known one or unknown one by using taxonomical aids is called as identification. By the identification only, you have to determine that is the old one or new one. That process is called as identification. After completion of the first process, go for second one is nomenclature. You have to assign a proper, correct scientific name to the plant is called as nomenclature. You have to assign a correct scientific name to the identified plant. So that nomenclature process done on the basis of ICBN rules. ICBN rules frame some rules and regulations for each and every aspect in the taxonomy. As per nomenclature, you have to follow ICBN rules definitely. Third step is characterization or description. So before doing the classification, you have to listing the features or attributes to a taxon. So you have collected and identified the plant. You can describe the plant vegetatively, morphologically, and reproductive parts and other molecular level characteristics. Also, you have to list out them. Then only based on the characters, next go for the fourth step of the taxonomy, that is classification. Classification is nothing but ordering of plants into groups or categories based on the overall similarities and differences. So based on the differences and similarities between the two groups or two categories or two taxons, you have to put in a correct order. That is nothing but is called classification. So first step is taxonomy. Taxonomy, first step is identification. We already defined the identification process. The collection of actual plant specimen or plant specimen of plant species is essential and prime source of taxonomic studies. So without plant specimen, we are unable to do the identification process. Identification is usually done by the utilization of various taxonomical aids. Various taxonomical aids. So first of all, the primary identification taxonomical tool is herbarium. Herbarium, it is the storehouses of a houses a collection of preserved plant species. Plant specimens are preserved in the form of herbarium sheets, which are prepared by drying, pressing, and preserving the samples on dried sheet of papers. The sheets are then arranged in their order of classification in the taxonomic hierarchy. In the taxonomic hierarchy, these herbarium sheets carry all the information about the respective specimens. So, by observing the herbarium sheets, you can compare the newly collected plant specimen with the resource of herbarium. Then we can identify whether the plant is known one or unknown one. The second one is botanical gardens. Botanical gardens in which specific plants are grown and are labeled according to their taxonomy. Very rare plants and specific economically important plants are grown in these gardens. The labels carry their scientific names and family. The main purpose of botanical gardens to identify the plant species under consideration. Under consideration. The third one is museum. Museum is another taxonomical aid which are found in schools and colleges or biological laboratories. With the help of preservatives, we can preserve plants or animal species or sometimes plant pots also. They may also be dried or preserved. Birds and larger animals are usually stuffed before preserving, and insects are killed and pinned in boxes. We sometimes find skeletons of various animals too also. So these are the things museums. Next one is fourth one, key. Key is a one kind of analytical taxonomical aid. Plants and animals are recognized based on the contrasting pair of sentences or contrasting pair of characters known as keys. Two contrasting keys are generally kept as a pair. One of the statement which accept, another statement reject the character. In this way, we can prepare a couple of keys. Based on the keys, we can identify the plant, whether it is new one or old one. In every statement of the key is known as lead. The fifth one is flora. Flora is nothing but the total availability of the plant in a particular location or locality, a habitat, description of plants in a given area, whether it is a continent or the nation or the state or maybe a district. Monographs. Another kind of taxonomical aid is called as monograph. Monograph is nothing but it is a taxonomist wrote a book on a particular species or genus, sometimes family also. For example, a monograph book on Compositae family, a monograph book on Cleome species. Cleome is the genus. So number of species are available in the Cleome genus. So the seventh one is manuals, and eighth, nowadays we are using computer punch card keys to identify the plants. So these are the photographs regarding the herbarium and the Royal Botanical Gardens, museum, and analytical taxonomical aid is called key. Key is nothing but a pair of contrast characters. For example, here the third one is the inferior ovary, remaining third comes under superior ovary. So few plants which are accept this character, whatever other group of plants which reject the character, they comes under superior ovary. A pair of contrast characters is known as key. Next, second step of that plant taxonomy is nomenclature. Naming of identified plants on scientific basis. We are follow principles and rules are listed in ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. After identification, you have to assign a proper, correct one scientific name to the collected plant specimen. So the naming process done as per the rules of ICBN. International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi and Plants, that is known as ICN. So ICBN modified as ICN at International Botanical Congress held at Melbourne, Australia, July 2011. Latest International Botanical Congress was held at Shenzhen, China, 23rd to 29 July 2017. Normally, every 5 years or 10 years interval, ICBN meetings are conducted in various countries. So the recent ICBN meeting was held at Shenzhen, China in 2017. Previously, it is called ICBN, but its nomenclature is changed as ICN, International Botanical Congress. Botanical nomenclature is independent of zoological and bacteriological nomenclature. So few rules are different from zoological and bacteriological nomenclature. So botanical nomenclature is independent one. The application of botanical names is determined by means of nomenclatural types. So, nomenclature type means it is a representative of a family for the whole plant species. That is known as nomenclature types. For example, aster species. Aster is the genus. Based on this nomenclature type, aster, the family named as Asteraceae. Solanum, it is a genus name. Based on the nomenclature type name, the family name derived as Solanaceae. So these are the application of botanical names is determined by means of nomenclature types. Botanical nomenclature is based upon priority of publication, and the names are scientifically correct in accordance with the rules of the ICN. That is called legitimate name. Illegitimate names violate the rules which are framed by the ICN. That is known as illegitimate name. ICN rules and regulations. Few ICN rules are listed here. First one is every plant have only one correct scientific name. The scientific names must be in Latin language. So previously, the nomenclature process creates more ambiguity because in India, number of regional languages are there. Several plants are called with a single name. At the same time, different plants also called with a single name. So it's create a lot of ambiguity between the plant names. So to avoid this confusion, taxonomists are go for a scientific method. The scientific names must be in Latin language. But first time Ravenous he proposed multi polynomial type method. That means a scientific name consisting more than 3 words. So, but it is very difficult to remember. That's why later on Carolus Gosport Bohin, who introduced the binomial nomenclature, but implemented by Carolus von Linnaeus. So that's why, according to the ICN rules, binomial nomenclature system is adopted. Every plant scientific name consisting 2 words only. One is a generic epithet, another one is specific epithet. So this binomial nomenclature system introduced by Gosport Bohin. This system of binomial nomenclature is developed and practiced effectively by Carl Linnaeus in the book named as Species Plantarum. Each scientific name in binomial nomenclature consists of 2 words. First word is the generic epithet, second word is the specific epithet. The generic epithet is always capitalized while the specific epithet is written in lowercase letters. In some organisms, the species are divided into even smaller subspecies or variety names. You know, the basic taxon is the species, but few plants are classified lower than the species level. That is nothing but is called variety name. Example is cabbage, Brassica oleracea variety capitata. So here 3 words are there in the scientific name. The last word indicates variety. Scientific names usually italicized or underlined. If you manually write the scientific name, each word separately underlined, it will be in the printed manner, definitely use italicized. Author names also often abbreviated in the parenthesis. But in case of botany, tautonyms are not valid. Tautonyms mean a scientific name having both like terms, that is, species and genus words are same. Example is NASA or Rattus. So these are the zoological scientific names. But in the same way, Kajan, it will be replaced by Kajanus Kajan. So in this way, tautonyms are not valid in the botany. Just to go through one example, here is a groundnut plant, Arachis hyposea. Arachis is generic epithet and hyposea is the specific epithet. and in brackets put the L. L is nothing but the author citation. L is nothing but indicates lineage. A, it is always starts with capital letter. Specific epithet always starts with small letter. Generic epithet is in the noun form. Specific epithet is a descriptive adjective. Hypoxia. Hypo means below the ground. The fruits are formed below the ground. It is a character feature of Arachis hypoxia. Arachis is a noun form. So this is about the example. Taxonomic categories. In the classification, different type of taxons, they are arranged in different levels. Every unit of classification, irrespective of its rank, is called as taxon. Taxon is nothing but it is it representative of a group of plants. Species itself, it is a one plant, but kingdom is nothing but the whole plants comes under plant kingdom. So that's why largest taxon is kingdom, the smallest taxon is species. It is called as basic taxon. Taxonomists have also developed some subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Uh, Different taxonomists are classified the taxons according to their feasibility. So some of the taxons are arranged the taxons without any complexity. But few taxonomists are classified the plants on the basis of taxons, which are arranged in subcategory level also. Subcategory levels. For example, order, suborder, family, subfamily. In this way, they are again classified into subcategories. Just you can draw this diagram. Before going to the diagram, as a common taxonomic hierarchy, the largest taxon is kingdom. Kingdom is divided into divisions. Divisions are divided into class. Class furtherly divided into order. Next, family, genus, and species level. Some taxonomists or species also under one more category is created, that is variety level. Family, in between subfamily, order, suborder, class, subclass, division, subdivision. So such type of feasibility created by taxonomies. So just from kingdom to species, decrease number of organisms. From you can observe the hierarchy of the taxons. From the kingdom to species, the plant number in each group decreased gradually. In the same way, increases similarities from the species to kingdom, increase the similarities. For example, one Clium gynandra is there, Clium felina is there. Both the species are having very few similarities, very few similarities. But under the genus Clium, it shows more than the species similarities. So in this way, from bottom to top, you can increase the similarities. From top to bottom, decrease the number of plants in each taxon. So just you can observe from the diagram. So this is the various types of taxonomical hierarchy, kingdom. So in case of zoology, we can call as phylum, division in plant groups, subdivision, class, subclass, superorder, order, suborder, family, subfamily, so genus, species. So these are the various types of hierarchy of taxonomy. So which representative that group. For example, kingdom plantae, division is Magnolia phyta. Subdivision is called as Magnolia phytina. So class is Magnolia obsida. So in this way, the suffix of the particular taxon is also fixed, which never changes. For example, family name is always ends with AC. For example, Asteraceae. And order name is always ends with ales, Asterales, polynomials, rosales, gentianales. in this way. So genus is Helianthus, species Helianthus annulus. So, but according to ICBN rules, every family name end with AC suffix. But few family names are designated uh, based on its characteristics, but later it will be changes into as per ICBN nomenclature, ICBN rules. So, for example, Palmy, the name is replaced with Aracacea, Composite Asteraceae, Cruciferae Brassicaceae, Guttiferae Clusiaceae, Leguminaceae Fabaceae, Labiatae Lamiaceae, Graminae Poaceae, Umbelliferae Epiaceae, Papilionoideae Faboideae. So, in this way, the family names also changed according to ICBN rules. So next, third step, the classification. Before classification, you have to characterize the plant, list out the attributes or characters of the uh, newly identified plant. Orderly arrangement of the plants. Classification is nothing but is a basic science which are based on a logic or a reason. You have to do the process of classification. What is the product of the process? Classification systems. The goal of systematics is import to discover phylogeny. The main aim of classification is to understand between the plant groups how the evolved. What is the relationship between the genetical and phylogenetic relationship between the group of plants? It will be reflected by the classification. Some features of plants suggesting the course of evolution. Some features of plants suggesting the course of evolution. The characters are divided into primitive and advanced features. So every plant exhibits some vegetative and floral characters. Based on the floral and vegetative characters, we can estimate the plant is primitive one or advanced one. So first list out the some characters, can go through that one. Primitive and advanced characters. These characters are listed out by the taxonomists to phenotypically a plant is advanced or primitive one. So for example, a plant grown as a perennial, it is primitive. It grown as annual plant, that is advanced character. Erect plants, climbing plants. A climbing plant is an advanced character. A plant grown as a woody tree, it is a primitive one, but it grown as a shrub or herb, it is the advanced character. So in this way, you are list out the characters. For example, here dicotyledons are the primitive, then the monocotyledons. Taproot system is primitive character when compared to adventitious root system. So So these are the different type of internal and as well as the morphological characters. Internal, for example, tracheids, presence of tracheids in the xylem, it is the primitive character. That place is replaced by vessels, trachea, that is advanced character. Scalariform vessels are primitive and pitted vessels are advanced. So reticulate venation of leaves is the primitive and parallel venation of the leaves is advanced. Solitary flower or single flower is a plant having solitary flower each at each node, that is a primitive character. Instead of single flower, it produces inflorescence, that is the advanced character. So bisexual flowers is a primitive one and the unisexual flowers are the advanced characters. So polypetalous condition is primitive and the gamopetalous condition is advanced. So in this way, list out nearly 34 characters based on the vegetative, reproductive, anatomical, and other characters which are listed out by the taxonomists. So epicarpy, syncarpy. Epicarpy is primitive, syncarpy is advanced one. Endospermic seeds are the primitive, non-endospermic seeds are the advanced one. So based on the vegetative and floral characters and some internal anatomical characters also, decided the plant is primitive or um, advanced one. So these are the introduction to the plant taxonomy and as well as principles of some plant systematics. So taxonomy is also called as plant systematics. Systematics is nothing but the things which are arranged in orderly, legitimately manner. So these are some glossary terminology we are discussed in the while explaining these topics. So you have to recapitulate these questions. Taxonomy is a multidisciplinary science. How does development taken place in other branches change the course of taxonomy? Elaborate with example. What is the hierarchical order? What is the importance of this in classification? Why it is considered difficult to propose a phylogenetic classification? So these are the some exercises to the students. So thank you.